it is so loud. It's like all around town.
That's going at the front of the episode.
Even in the dark. Hey, Maniacs.
Hey, Maniacs.
It's Midsomer Maniacs.
Midsomer Maniacs is a recap podcast dedicated to the ITV series Midsomer Murders. Each week, we dig into an episode of the show, including the murders, the mayhem, the loonies, and everything else we love.
This is our 70th episode.
70th episode, season 12, episode 4, The Glitch.
I'm going to say this whole episode is kind of a glitch.
I'm going to behave.
And see, we can say things like that about Midsomer because you know we love this show. We love every episode of this show. Yeah. But some of them are better than others. And I wouldn't put this one in my top 50.
But it's not a bad episode.
No episode of Midsummer's bad.
It's got George Jeffers. It's got Jap. It's got a bicycle built for two. There are positive things here.
Oh, there's all kinds of positive things. But in terms of plot,
yeah,
it's not the best.
It's rough. Just as a reminder, if you let your kids watch the show, they can listen to the podcast, though this is a pretty tame episode.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not like the next episode.
If your kids get overly excited by rally car driving, don't let them watch the episode.
Just a reminder off the top, we got Midsomer Maniacs merch still available with all the proceeds going to direct relief. This episode filmed November 2008, broadcast date 23rd of September 2009, 6.3 million viewers, directed by Richard Holthouse and written by Michael Russell.
Are you feeling a little bit slap happy today?
I am a little bit. It's been, to say the least, a crazy old week.
I saw a post somewhere that said, I finished my 7-day trial of 2021 and I would like to cancel my subscription. And that's kind of how I feel. I'm just trying to laugh through it. It's weird craziness out there.
If anybody had ever said this was going to happen between the last episode and this episode, I would have been like, what?
This being the storming of the Capitol, the rioters in the Capitol. Like, whoa. I'm just glad that we have a podcast where we talk about a fun TV show that is in no way related to current events because, wow.
I just want to reiterate, as somebody who puts himself out there, along with my wife, on the internet, we have yet to have even the nearest of a difficult comment to deal with.
No.
You guys have all been so fantastic.
If you disagree with us on something, you either keep it to yourself or comment very nicely about it. And that's why we do what we do.
Well, as long as I don't pronounce the F-E-T-E word incorrectly.
Yeah, you better not. Shame, shame.
Okay, The Glitch. And we start off this computer-based episode on bicycles.
Let's just say right off the bat that none of the computer stuff in this is accurate.
Computers don't work that way. Computer companies don't work that way. Software doesn't work that way. Binary doesn't work that way.
Putting in your password wrong doesn't work like that.
Chip manufacturing doesn't work that way. Silicon doesn't work that way. Evolution does not work that way. And rally cars don't work that way. I think I got it all out.
Okay, you got it all out now?
Yep,
okay.
I think so.
Because this is more about bikes than it is about software.
I know. It's weird that software bit is tagged on. And, you know, for a long time I worked at a company that made software that helped with chip manufacturing. So I intimately know what they're talking about here and how wrong it is.
We got that out.
Yep.
We're done with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's lots of fun in this episode to talk about. So there is a group of people who ride bikes together, right?
Yep.
And George Jeffers.
There's a bunch of old people who ride bikes together who occasionally have youngins with them.
The plague of racers, they're called.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Plague of Boy Racers.
Yes.
And the older set is made up of George Jeffers, right?
Yes.
His friend, Edward Canning.
Yes.
And the school teacher, Emily Hart, and some other people.
Jap.
And Jap, who is Daniel Snape.
Yes.
5 points from Gryffindor.
Always.
But it's hard not to call him Jap. If you've ever seen any of the David Suchet Poirot's, Philip Jackson
He's
is
Japanese.
Jap.
He's Jappy McJapson.
But he's not the only Jap in this episode.
No, there are 2 Japs in this episode.
Jonathan Cecil, who plays the dean of the university.
He did Jap in all the
Peter Ustinov Poirot's. Yeah,
Poirot's.
so we've got 2 Japs.
Which I knew there was Peter Ustinov Poirot movies, but I didn't know there were TV movies too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen those. We might have to watch those.
I guess they got to go on the list.
Yes.
So
So this is bikes, people with bikes, and then people with fancy cars, which also happen to be the people who work at the software company.
It's bikes versus sports cars.
Yes.
And the sports cars are all software uppity-ups.
And they work for Soft Earth Software Company.
Soft Earth Systems.
Soft Earth Systems has an awful logo.
And I don't know why anybody would think it would be a good idea to set up a software company in a country estate.
I also don't.
It has to be the worst wired
Yeah.
building to put a software company in.
Well, if we all sit behind each other in rows, software development doesn't work like that. And have matrixy like machine code on our screens, software development doesn't work like that.
Okay, that's your last one.
Okay, I promise.
That's it.
But this episode also has a superhero.
Who's that?
Bucketman.
Yes.
So Bucketman makes an appearance in the cold open.
Yes.
And Bucketman,
Does us all a favor by pouring paint mixed with glue
which
over Clinton Finn's head and his horrible ponytail.
I can only imagine is horrific.
Oh, just glue. Just like white Elmer's glue, like school glue.
Yeah.
Would suck. Now, it's water soluble. It will dissolve, but it would be bad,
It would
especially
be
on...
bad on your skin.
If you put it out, didn't you ever put glue on your hand as a kid and peel it off?
No, but paint on your skin would be not the best.
Latex paint and Elmer's
guess.
glue. It's not going to hurt you.
Okay.
But it's going to do a job on the interior of your car.
Oh, your car is in trouble.
That's going to be
as
bad.
much trouble as your fence is with a little piece of string that stops it from opening.
All I know is that because it gets dumped on Clinton's head, he has to shave his hair, and that's an improvement.
Yes.
Because, wow, that ponytail was bad.
So we know 2 things about Bucketman. He pours buckets of paint and glue on people's cars. And the second thing we know is he rides a bike.
Yes.
So that's all we know about Bucketman for now.
Bucketman.
No. Bucketman.
I forgot to mention in the bike riders and the oldies that ride the bikes are the Wayland Smiths, the couple in the matching outfit riding the tandem bike,
Yes.
who do the worst job of being run off the road I've ever seen.
I don't know. Tom's job of being run off the driveway is pretty bad.
Well, and later at the end of the episode, during the big chase to get the bad guy, Gail just stops and falls over. So she's not all that great at bikes, but they go off into the trees and they go, oh, and they kind of stop and they fall.
And
But
this-
we'll talk about tandem bikes a little bit later.
And this is all involved with the college. So the software company is giving the college, which is named,
St. Frideswide's.
we'll get into that for a second, a bunch of money to create this institute. And there's this whole kind of academic freedom subplot.
Because Jeffries is a fellow at St. Frideswide's, which I think is they're saying to imply that he has tenure.
Yeah, he is the equivalent.
Meaning that he has the academic freedom to research whatever he wants, even if he doesn't actually discover anything. That's okay.
You know what I've researched with my academic freedom?
What?
Red herrings.
Oh, yeah. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
I think, and we're supposed to understand that Jeffries and Finn, who just got the bucket on his ponytail, used to be partners in computer development, software development, and they have since kind of split apart.
This, of anything in this episode related to software, is the closest thing I've had to actual experience, where I worked at a company where there were two guys who were PhDs who were way ahead of everybody else. And they developed the sort of next version of the software. And they were always having problems and arguing with the marketing people. So that is the most realistic thing I've seen.
Yeah. Doesn't Tom say something in the episode about the point in development where the marketers have to kill the developers?
Yeah, I'd never heard that phrase before, and I've worked in software since '93.
But the concept is there.
Yeah, the concept's there.
When you work in software. Anyway, boring stuff. You know what's not boring? St. Frideswide.
Yes. So St. Frideswide is part of the Midsomer Sancti, where there's some ruins, plus the college, right?
Yes.
So it's implied that this old saint, whoever she is, caused people to come all the way from Coston.
Whoa, they came from Coston? Isn't that like 3 miles away?
To this destroyed abbey.
It's practically Canterbury.
To this abbey on pilgrims. And that's why the bike ride is called the Pilgrim's Ride.
Right, because they're gonna ride to the ruins. Now, listeners, we need your help with this. Mark and I both tried to figure out what ruins these are.
We couldn't find it
in the real world, and we could
them.
not figure out what ruins they were. I looked at a ton near Oxford on Google Maps, and I couldn't find anything around that looked remotely like it.
They didn't build them.
No. They're real, but I just could not find out what that location is. However, St. Frideswide is real. Well, it's one way of pronouncing her name, right? There's other ways of pronouncing her name. But she was alive between 650. She was alive between 650 and 727.
Yep.
She died on October 19th of 727. And so October 19th is the feast of St. Frideswide. This is in the era where there were many, many kings in Britain.
Yes.
And they were fighting amongst themselves, right? Yep. So at an early age, she decided to become a nun.
Yeah.
And then her life got exciting. So her dad was one of these regional kings, and he was like, okay, you want to become a nun, hun? Here, I'll help you. I'll build a monastery for you, and you can be a nun there. And she's like, thanks, Dad. But then this other guy, another king, Ethelbald, he sounds sexy. Ethelbald decided, no, I want to marry that girl. And so he pursues Frideswide, and she runs, right? So there's different versions, whether she runs and she gets on a boat, or she runs and she hides in the woods and then slips back into town, into Oxford to get away from him, hides among some pigs. Either way, it does not go well for Ethelbald because depending on which version of the story you read, while he's looking for her, he either spontaneously goes blind or spontaneously falls off his horse and breaks his neck.
Whoa.
Either way, stop chasing the girl, dude.
Bad news.
Bad Ethelbald.
Having any sort of break 1,300 years ago was bad news.
She gets mentioned in the Canterbury Tales, too.
Nice.
She is the patron saint of the miller in the Canterbury Tales.
Oh, cool. So a real saint.
I still have committed to memory the opening lines of the Canterbury because I had a professor in college who made us memorize it.
Wow.
Juan de la Prieto de Chorostuta. It's there. It's still there.
Yep.
Tons of that. Anyway, so that's St. Frideswide. So now she's the patron saint of Oxford. So I think, though Midsummer's not set in Oxford, clearly, it is set in a fictional county near, and so they're kind of invoking that.
Yes. So Jones is on the case. He's on the Bucketman.
He's supposed to be finding out who this Bucketman is, and everybody's mad because he's not doing anything. He's not figuring it out.
So he makes a reference here to, at the cop shop, to 3 wise monkeys.
Yeah, he says something to Gail about see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Why does he even say that?
It's sort of shorthand for no one will talk to me about this.
So everybody's clammed up when he goes around town trying to figure out who the Bucketman is.
So I'm like, I understand the 3 wise monkeys, right? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. But where did that come from? And I found a couple of sources that say it's popularization of a 17th century carving over the door of a shrine in Japan.
Oh, okay.
In Japan, they have names. The 3 different monkeys have different names.
That's cool.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, that's Japanese.
Now you know.
Yep.
So we get to go to Clinton Finn's office, who's the head of Soft Earth Systems, because the paint has been dumped on his head. And boy, is he pissed. He's having his head shaved. He's ticked off because Jones hasn't done anything. And his office is endlessly interesting.
Well, before we get to his office, we have the following notes in my notes. In bold, capital letters. WTF is that shirt?
Whose shirt?
What is her name? She doesn't even get named till like 3/4 of the way.
Helen Markham, who is his product manager, has on a pirate shirt, a Musketeers shirt.
I have both pirate and Musketeer in my notes.
There are more ruffles than shirt.
It's horrific.
It's got bell sleeves and ruffles all the way up to her ears. It's flouncy.
It's just wrong.
It's bad.
I don't know if they're trying to imply that she's like... In the rest of the episode, they kind of imply that she's a go-getter, career-oriented, no-nonsense businesswoman.
Yeah, except for her shirt choices.
Except that she's Captain Bligh with her shirt choice.
That's a shirt. If you like ruffles, good on you, but wow.
I was kind of stunned.
No thanks. So Mark and I sort of compare notes before we sit down to record.
Yep.
And because we want to make sure that we didn't miss a topic. We do our research independent from one another because you never know what one is going to find, even if we look into the same things. So I got stuck looking at this airplane sculpture that is on Finn's desk.
Which I think appears in Poirot, too.
It's an iconic Art Deco aluminum sculpture of a plane on like a swooshy shape.
Yeah, he doesn't have much on his desk.
I went into this black hole trying to figure out what the original design is because, of course, there's tons of copies of it now. Yeah. And I still do not have a definitive answer on that. And because I was looking at that plane, I completely missed what you noticed right behind it.
Which was the giant Eye of Sauron fan.
I think it's a sculpture.
I don't know what.
Like a fabric thing over a
sits
frame?
Really close to him and is big and circular.
And looks like the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Like, wow.
It's scary.
And then he also has a bowl of rocks, which actually is candy.
I think it's jelly beans.
Yeah,
you thought it was pebbles until he started eating them.
Yes.
And then you're like, whoa,
I
he
was
eats
like,
rocks.
whoa, dude.
Don't eat rocks.
Sauron doesn't eat rocks. Software Sauron.
Then we finally get to meet Snape.
Yes. So we meet Snape at his auto repair place.
And that's great because I love Philip Jackson.
Yeah.
Everything that he's played is great. But Wayland Smith is there. He of the tandem bicycle.
Yes.
Who can't talk without speaking Latin and then translating himself.
Wayland Smith is in another episode. He's in last week's episode.
He's like from a parallel Midsomer universe where he is a recurring character or something. I don't know.
He says the Latin thing and then he says the English thing in almost every one of his lines.
Yeah. He does it like 9 times.
Yeah.
Like enough that I think we don't see his wife in another scene because she probably has decided not to be near him anymore because he's so annoying.
So he's the choir master.
At the university / college, whatever you want to call it.
And he rides a tandem bike and he has the choir sing Daisy Bell. Mm-hmm. Which is the bicycle built for 2 song.
Now, which came first, the bike or the song?
Well, what I read was that when the person who wrote the song was coming to the UK from the US.
Other way around.
Going from the UK to the US. He had to spend some sort of taxation on his bike.
Yes.
And his friend said at least it wasn't a bicycle built for 2.
Because it would have been more expensive to pay the import tax.
Expensive to pay the import tax. He liked that phrase, so he put it in the song.
Yes.
I don't know if tandem bikes existed at that point in time. Did they?
No.
Oh my gosh.
But he didn't invent them.
Well, kind of he did, because the idea came from him.
Okay. So I looked into both these things.
Okay.
First of all, the history of bicycles is just full of silliness. Okay, people? Like...
Let's put a gigantic wheel in the front and a little tiny wheel in the back.
Penny farthing. I mean, at the turn of the century, people were telling women not to ride bikes because they might get bicycle face from going too fast.
It doesn't make any sense.
So Harry, I'm going to say Dacre, Dacre, is the name of the guy who wrote the song. It's called Daisy Bell, Bicycle Made for Two, in 1892.
Yep.
Right? And the story that you recounted is the story that I was able to find too.
And it cannot be minimized that this was a global hit.
Yes.
It was the closest thing to the most popular song of all time at that point in time.
The fact that 135 years later, we still know every word of that song tells you something. There's not a lot of songs that you would know those words for. And people also think that he named the girl in the song Daisy after Daisy Greville, who was the Countess of Warwick and one of Edward VII's mistresses.
Okay.
So that's why he might have called her Daisy. Now, the tandem bike, as we know it anyway, one in front of the other, was not invented until 1898. Oh. So 6 years after the song, we got what we call the Pedersen bicycle. It was invented by a guy named Pedersen.
So that means a line of people, right? There's one in front of the other.
Yes. One in front of the other.
Is there a tandem bike where they're side by side?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. This is why I'm saying the history of bikes is fantastically silly.
If you put the person on the outside who bikes faster, then you're just going to go around.
No, because you each get one pedal.
That makes even less sense.
You're getting ahead of me now. Hold on. Because they're not actually for two, they're for three. So hold on, okay? So Pedersen makes this tandem bike, and in most of his models, they are built so that the front part of the bicycle resembles what we would call a women's bike, right? Where the center bar dips down towards the pedals to make it easier to get on and off if you're wearing a big skirt. And you don't have to hike your leg over it, right? It's more modest. In those same versions, not only was the assumption that the woman would ride in front, but also that she would just be along for the ride. So she had no pedals.
Okay.
Or brakes.
Okay.
She got all of the wind and weather, but had nothing to do with the navigation of the bike.
Did she decide on direction or anything?
I think she could steer. Well, she'd have to. She had the front wheel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then somebody thinks, well, gee, that's not fair.
No.
Right? So they start making bikes where the front and back are the same.
Okay.
And they both have pedals that can actually move the bike, but they're both made in the men's style of bike. Okay. Well, that won't do because ladies are wearing these big skirts and stuff, even though some women were wearing bloomers by then.
Yes.
So a few years later, somebody invents what is called a courting tandem bike.
Okay.
Now, how many people do you think are involved in courting?
On bikes?
No, just in general. Like when you think of people courting, how many people are there?
2.
No, there's 3.
Oh.
So there's 2 seats side by side in the front and one in the back for their chaperone.
Their governess.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So now the chaperone also has to pedal and sit in the back. Then we get really crazy and we get something called the courting cycle, which is only 2 people.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Other way around. The courting tandem was 2. The courting cycle was 3.
Okay.
But the best is what is called a sociable bike.
A sociable bike.
Which is 2 next to each other, and each of you has 1 pedal, and there's only 2 wheels. Because most of the courting bikes had 3 wheels.
Okay.
Right? Because there's 3 people on it. You kind of need the balance, right?
Yeah.
How are you even going to get 3 people on a bike without it falling over? Especially if there's 2 in front and 1 in back, and there's a man and a woman, and the assumption is that he would weigh more than her.
Maybe the one out works like an outrigger.
It would be difficult to do, right?
That'd be difficult.
So the sociable bike puts a pedal on each side. So the pedal on the front wheel is like extended and it's big enough for kind of both of your feet. So if you can just imagine, just wherever you're sitting right now, put your feet together and move them like you're pedaling a bike. It makes your whole body kind of undulate. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So I could not find any footage.
Oh, I wish I could see that.
Even super old footage of couples trying to ride these bikes because You would look like geese, and you would be in alternating patterns. One of you would be back, and one of you would be front. You'd be like, blah, 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 blah. Like
I would think that
so
this
weird.
is maybe a design that never got built.
Oh, it got built. I found a whole group of people who do nothing but restore sociable bikes. Of course.
Of course.
This is what this episode drives us to.
Yes.
Because the plot of the episode is so thin and kind of that tandem bikes are exciting in comparison.
I guess.
So if anybody's got a sociable bike out there, we want to see it.
Oh, definitely.
There's a whole subplot about Jeffries and his ex-wife and his son and his ex-wife being jealous of Emily, the school teacher. We're not even going to really go there.
No.
It's not important.
Nope.
It's not entertaining. It's kind of pointless.
You know what else is pointless? That model of the college. First of all, it looks nothing like the rest of the college. Like
Oh, gosh,
it
no.
would stick out like a sore thumb.
That building would never be approved to be built in Oxford.
Second
no
of
way.
all, did you notice there's the main building and then there's a little other outbuilding? And I was like, what is that outbuilding?
It's like a mini-me building next to it.
It's like the outhouse that the developers have to go to or something.
The technology outhouse.
I don't know.
So they have this meeting at Jeffrey's house about the Pilgrim's Ride. Emily sticks around. Then it's dark. She doesn't have any lights on her bike, so she borrows Jeffrey's new bike.
Yes, and he has a brand new bike that he's super excited with. The porter at the university has it.
Why does he have it delivered to the school instead of his
reason.
house?
I don't
know. He says it's a space frame bicycle.
Yes.
Space frames are built by a company called Molten,
Okay.
which is in the UK.
It reminded me of a 70s collapsible bike.
They sort of look like they could be collapsible bikes, but they're not. Their frame is more lattice-like.
Oh, okay.
It has more bars, but they're smaller and they're lighter.
Okay.
So that's why he keeps lifting it up
Okay.
to show how light it is.
How light it is.
Right?
Yes.
These bikes are between $1,500 and $3,000 a piece.
Wow.
It's got 3 gears. The ones I saw only have 3 gears.
It should drive you around for that much money.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for a bike.
Yes. But I was like, why is it when the other members of the committee bike past him and say, hey, we've got a meeting, does he pick up his bike and shake it at them?
Yeah.
And say, like, respect the bike. I'm like, why does he say that? And then I realized it's an extraordinarily light bike so that he's showing off
Yeah.
that his bike is light.
I guess.
I don't know why that matters. My bike is light, so don't tease me. Okay. But that conversation where Jeffries stops to talk to Finn is where we really get the base of the glitch.
Yes.
The thing that Jeffries is so worried about in this software.
So, in essence, what he's worried about is that because computers are a binary system, they may get an input that is neither 1 nor 0, and that will confuse the system.
I don't think it's that they get an input that's neither 1 or 0. It's that they get 2 messages so close together that they are confusing to the system.
Yes,
and so it can
right.
take no
That's right.
action.
Yeah.
It vacillates between or fibrillates between 0 and 1.
There's actually a name for that, by the way.
Non-existent thing?
No, it's called a race condition.
Oh,
So
so you just program for it.
when you get something happening to your object before it's supposed to.
A software developer is showing.
Yep.
But the bottom line is that Jeffries thinks that this is a really serious concern and could make airplanes crash. And so he wants them to stop the release, but Finn doesn't want to stop.
Incredibly ethical.
Yes, it's important to him. He doesn't want to be responsible for people dying.
Nope.
But Finn, of course, being the developer, has invested a bunch of money and time in it and wants to go ahead and thinks it's highly unlikely that anything bad could ever happen.
Yes.
Right. And so that's the crux of their argument.
He basically, George Jeffers says it's either $1 million, millions of dollars now, or dead people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep calling him Jeffries. It's Jeffers.
Jeffers.
And then we finally get our first murder.
Yes.
Emily gets run over.
Poor Emily, who does nothing but try to be nice to people the entire episode.
Not only only does she get run over, but then the person backs up and runs over her again to be sure.
Yeah.
Because they think they're killing Jeffers.
Okay. Now, we haven't even mentioned the two people pivotal to the murder plot. Like the murder
The Cannings.
motive. Yeah, the Canning.
So Jonathan Canning, who is some lead faculty at the university.
Yep.
And Edward Canning, who is Jeffers' best friend, kind of. His buddy.
Yeah.
He's in the bike club.
He used to be the porter at the university when Jeffers was an undergrad.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of weird relationship to continue, but he's a murderer.
The whole concept of porters is weird.
Yeah,
To
it
people
is.
in the US especially. Because we just do not have people like that.
No.
Well, the idea of a college like they are in Oxford is bizarre to me still. Even though you've explained it so many times to me, it still blows my mind that it's like one university.
And we had them in Canada.
Jonathan Canning, the son, wants the donation from Soft Earth to build the new building.
So that he can become master.
And the current master or dean, Melville Dodgson, the second Jap, is about to retire.
Yep.
And so Jonathan thinks that the job will be his.
Yeah. And there's no indication that it won't be his.
Even if the donation doesn't come through, nobody ever says, well, if we don't get that donation, Jonathan, you're not going to get that job.
Problem number one.
But that must be what his dad hears, because then his dad starts killing people.
So instead of having another scene with Jeffers' ex-wife, they could have had a scene with the master and Jeffers.
Yeah.
You know.
Saying, if this donation doesn't come through, I don't think I'm going to give Jonathan the job. Never mind, that's not how you get the job of being the master or dean of a college.
So poor Emily gets run over because the person thinks she's Jeffers.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they look so much alike.
Never mind the fact that Jeffers' house has gotten burgled the night before by the world's worst burglar.
I'm going to tap on all the windows and then just break one.
And I'm going to make a single guess on this password and be really upset when I don't get it right the first time. I don't even get my password right the first time, and I know it.
I would get upset if Little Blue Mouse showed up and screamed at me with his eyes all bugging out. He's like, burglar's like, damn it, I guess I got to go.
So that little mouse, as far as I remember, is a little Java animation.
It seemed familiar to me, but I don't think that was ever standard in any piece of software. I think we're supposed to think Jeffers programmed it himself.
When Tom gets out of the car at the scene of the crime, he's very poetic. The weather the cuckoo likes.
Tom Hardy.
Yes.
Thomas Hardy.
Thomas Hardy. The poem's name is The Weathers. Mm-hmm. Tom kind of butchers it.
Sort of. He recites part of one stanza and part of another together as if they're the same stanza.
Yes. So The Weathers is a 2-stanza poem. One stanza is about the spring and the other stanza is about the fall.
Published in 1922 in Good Housekeeping.
Yes. This is the weather the cuckoo likes. And then Tom says, and they sit outside at Traveler's Rest. And there's a cut between those. So the whole thing may have actually been in the script.
Yeah, and they may have edited it.
Yeah.
I just don't know why he says it.
And the maids come forth spring muslin dressed, and the citizens dream of South and West, and so do I. I think he's just saying, boy, it's a nice day.
When is it? When in the year is this episode set? What season?
There's no snow.
There is.
Where's the snow?
There's loads of snow.
Where's the snow?
It's in the fields. It's on the roofs. It's real snow.
That's right. When was it filmed?
I don't know. You said it.
Just read this stuff off the top of the show. It was filmed in October and November, so I don't know why he's talking about spring.
So then it could be set in October, which is when St. Frideswide's Day is.
Oh, it could be.
So maybe. Yeah, there's snow, which is why I don't understand why all these people in convertibles are driving around with their tops down.
Well, they better not be drunk driving, which is a thing British people say that has always weirded me out.
Drink driving.
Yes.
We say drunk driving. They say drink driving.
So.
And poor Gail.
Okay, let's talk about this.
I think they redeemed themselves. I'm just going to say this. In the last episode, they use every stereotype of a woman in the office. Oh, she's moody, she cries, and she's worried about her clothes. This time, Gail gets to be a sensitive person who is emotionally touched by the fact that the school teacher's kids are putting flowers at her gate.
Which would make anyone cry because Emily's a school teacher.
Yes.
Yep.
And Tom says it's okay. And it's clear that she has done her job, regardless of the fact that she's emotionally touched by this.
He also serves some sort of mentorship here. And
yes.
He's like, this is how you calm down.
Yep.
This is how you get through it.
That's why I think they handled the role of Gail better in this episode than they did in the last one.
Are those children psychic? How the hell do they know she's dead so fast?
It's a little village. Everybody knows.
Oh, it's so... Well, did the flower guy show up out of nowhere and be like, oh...
Wouldn't you if you were the flower guy?
Oh, I don't know.
You'd be outside the school with bouquets ready to go.
It's got to be a hit and run with a dark green car.
Little do we know at that point, it's a rally car.
Okay, the only thing we do need to talk about with Jeffers' ex-wife is her horrible fringe.
You hate her bangs?
Oh, they're horrible. They're straight across.
What's wrong with that? She's got a bob.
Yeah, she's
got kind of Franny Fisher hair, but not good Franny Fisher hair.
Not good Franny Fisher hair. So I want to talk about Tom's room.
Tom Jeffers.
Tom Jeffers.
Not Tom Barnaby. Because there is a point where Tom yells at Tom.
Yes. So Tom Jeffers has...
He's like, what, 15? Something like that? Yeah.
Something like that. He has a little shrine in his room.
He's got Bucketman fan art.
He has Bucketman fan art.
Because he's Bucketman.
Yes. No, his father's Bucketman.
They are both Bucketman.
And then he figures out that he's Bucketman, and then he does Bucketman. But he doesn't know that there's glue in the paint.
Oh. So okay. Now I get that. I didn't get that.
So there are a number of press clippings here. Including Bucketman, hero or villain? No question mark.
Well, Ursula writes the whole paper herself, so she doesn't have time for punctuation.
Police not sure what he wants. And then underneath that is a headline that says, Parky heads up cricket feast. What the hell is a cricket feast?
I don't know.
Bucketman's fourth victim. There's more Bucketman fan art. And then police confirm same paint used in Bucketman cases. Okay, so he knows it's the same paint. Underneath that article, it says Olympic flag now flying for London 2012.
Bucketman.
And Bucketman strikes again.
Bucketman needs a cape.
He does. But
It'd have to be black, but
that artwork is fantastic.
I love his Bucketman fan art.
Yep.
Maybe we should do a special edition of like postcards or something that is creepy kid art from Midsomer, and we could do like the weird witch drawings
and the green demon in hell.
Green demon in hell, yeah, and then Bucketman. So then Waylon Smith, Mr. Tandem, gets to play the role of Cully or Joyce, where he sort of eavesdrops in on the conversation about the case, turns around and tells them everything they ever needed to know. It's awesome.
Yes.
But he doesn't do it all in Latin, so that's good.
Did you notice the Aspen? Okay. First of all, how dare you interrupt my lunch where we're talking about a case really loudly.
In public.
In public. Did you notice what the sign said outside the Aspen Arms?
No.
A kaleidoscopic range of British cask-conditioned ales and grapefruit in a relaxed atmosphere. Kaleidoscopic range of British cask-conditioned ales.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that mean they have ales of every color?
I
guess.
I guess.
Is that a real ale thing?
I really have no idea. All I know is the people keep interrupting them as they talk about murder.
And try to pour brown sauce.
Yes.
On a salad? It's next to a salad. Why is he putting brown sauce next to a salad?
Brown sauce is problematic in so many ways.
Nah, there's nothing wrong with brown sauce, but it doesn't go with salad or with a tuna fish sandwich, which is, I think, what he's having. Jones.
Yeah. Clinton and I spent the night together. Oh, did you notice the other thing about...
That she gives him an alibi before he asks for one?
No. About Tom and Jeffers' ex-wife house.
No.
When he comes down the stairs, there is a giant fucking owl in a box.
No, I didn't see the owl.
The box is huge. It's like about 2.5 feet across. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing to have
like
on the
a stuffed
stairs.
owl?
It's about 2.5 feet across, and there's a pane of glass at the front.
Yeah.
And then it's about 1.5 feet deep, and inside that is a stump with a stuffed owl on top of it.
And it's on the landing?
Yes.
No, I didn't notice that.
It was like, that would make it hard to get up and down the stairs.
I must have been oblivious. I didn't notice the Eye of Sauron. I didn't notice the giant owl.
I'm like, giant owl box.
But then George gets all techie and installs webcams.
Yes.
These are webcams.
They're cams that go on the web.
The internets. So I can take my laptop to the pub and show all my friends somebody breaking into my house. And none of them offer to go with me. Wouldn't you say, wait, George, I'll come with you. Don't go alone to confront a burglar.
Yeah. Like.
Or George takes off on his bike and you call the police.
Exactly. Like.
They all just like go back to their drinks.
They're
and
just like,
wonder what happened to him.
It was your round. You should have paid for it. Poor poor George feels responsible for Emily's death finally,
He's just a legitimately good person.
That is the good point of this episode, where he comes from, like, at first he's like, it's a hit and run, and then he finally admits that maybe they're after him.
Yeah,
and
maybe Emily died because somebody confused her for him.
And he doesn't. He has a very natural reaction there. I thought that was really good.
And I don't think that's because he's like madly in love with her. I think it's because he just seems like a good person.
Yes.
But now Snape has to die.
Yes.
Before I forget, just as a side note, Snape, played by Philip Jackson, is in this awesome show called Raised by Wolves.
Yes.
If you've never watched it, watch it. It is so funny, like stomach sore funny. And
Jap is inappropriate in ways that you could never imagine Philip Jackson being.
That always kills me when there's an actor who you just know as one role. Like, he is Jap. And then you see him doing un-Jap-like things.
Very un-Jap-like things.
Jap would never say that. Shut your mouth.
Raised by Wolves is excellent.
It's so funny.
It's so good. Before we get to that, we have to deal with Joyce's bicycle. So Joyce wants to do this ride. And there's all this talk about Joyce maybe not being able to do it.
I don't know why she's treated like a child in this episode. Like, good Joyce, you made it, you finished, good job.
So
like, what?
They get Joyce's bike out of the garage,
which is more full of junk than ours.
That made
me feel good.
That made my notes. The Barnabys can't even close the door of their garage.
We can close our garage door, though we have a 2-car garage that is almost as full as their 1-car garage.
So Joyce has this bike, and she mentions that Cully used to ride with her on the little seat at the back, which looks like the most uncomfortable piece of metal and wood.
It looks like a death trap bike seat, doesn't it? Yeah.
Barnaby tries to fix the bike. He breaks the chain, falls.
It's the second pratfall on a bike of this episode. We get the tandem couple, then him. Whoa, Bush.
Barnaby's hairy tummy.
Yes.
And then he takes it to Jap to get fixed. I don't understand why Jap's fixing bicycles, but he is.
He likes to ride bikes.
I guess. So he brings the bike back to Barnaby's house. Now, the Barnabys live in Coston, so...
He says he had to be in Coston anyway, so he thought he would just bring it by.
But how did he know where Barnaby lived?
I would assume when you leave something to be repaired that you fill out a little slip with your contact information.
Maybe. And Barnaby gives him 20 quid. It's weird. It's a weird scene.
I didn't think it was weird.
And then there's all this discussion of grandchildren with Joyce and the little seat.
She has hopes because Cully got married. Yeah. Cully's going to show up in this episode too for no reason at all. Just to ride a bike for a few minutes.
And not introduced. Like, Cully's just suddenly there.
Yeah. They've agreed to do the ride together. But then we hear Snape leave a voice message for Jeffers where it's like, I know something about the paint and the car that killed Emily. And I don't want to go to the police until I talk to you, which is just code for I'm about to be killed because I know something. And I said it out loud.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah. Oh, it's you. Wrench. Bang.
Is that before or after Jeffers gets hit?
After.
Okay. So Jeffers had gone home with the webcams and then he gets hit, which is before this.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So Snape gets hit on the head with a big wrench.
Yep.
A big monkey wrench. and then placed underneath the car lift, and the car lift is lowered to crush him.
Yes.
By Ned Canning, who claims to be his friend.
Yeah. Ned has no problem killing his friends.
In horrible ways.
Yeah.
I will run over her twice. I will crush him with a car lift.
All to get my son a job. It just comes out
thin.
of nowhere.
It's thin.
So thin. But written on his hand is, it's a green rally car.
No, it says Escort 63.
Why not put the name of the murderer on your hand?
Well, next time I know who committed a murder, I'll be sure to write their entire name on the palm of my hand before they come and get me. What I love about this cryptic clue is that it's a very bad clue.
It's a bad clue, and there's a bad bit of writing before that. Barnaby says to Jones, go back to the garage and look around, find a piece of writing or something like that.
Because he left the voicemail saying that he thought he knew who had hit Emily.
Obviously, we're going to find something written down at that point.
Yes.
It's clumsy
But Georgie
writing.
finds it in his palm.
Yeah, it's clumsy writing to me.
It says Escort 63, but there were no Ford Escorts in 1963. So what could it mean?
That Photoshop was developed in 1963 and was really bad?
The photo of the Cannings and Snape having finished the rally race.
Just horrific.
It's like you gave some safety scissors to a kid and a couple of photos and a glue stick.
Yep. Like, I'm surprised Jap isn't dressed like Jap from Poirot.
In that photo?
Yeah.
So it turns out, and you know this already, listeners, because you watched it, that the Escort 63 is a reference to the rally car that Jonathan Canning drove with his dad as navigator and Snape as their mechanic in the Midsomer rally race. Hey! Yep. Now, the car is not car 63. It's 16.
Yep.
It is a Ford Escort, at least.
Yeah.
And it is green.
Yeah.
The only place we can see any reference to 63 is the license plate, which is on Jonathan Canning's wall. And it's 633 something or other.
It's
why he doesn't write Escort 16, I don't know. But then Tom gets to drive that car.
Okay.
And it's a Bergerac scene.
Before we deal with the Maniac Tom driving.
You keep doing this to me.
What?
Before that, what?
Well, we haven't even talked about George Jeffers' lecture from Bizarro World.
Oh, that was an hour ago. When we talked about binary and evolution.
Yeah.
And then goes, oh, by the way, I got hit on the head.
It's so weird.
Because I know something.
It's bizarre. I don't even know why it's there. They could have had a scene that implied motive instead of that whole scene.
I guess. But it was another chance for Ursula to be nosy.
And the son sets off the fire alarms. And Canning sets off the fire alarms. I don't understand why he does that.
He wants Jeffers to stop talking because Ursula, the reporter, is there. And he's about to go into detail about the glitch. But and how nobody wants him to talk about it. And then Canning proves that by setting off the fire alarms, so they have to evacuate, and he can't finish what he was saying.
But it's just so clumsy.
And everybody knows that Jeffers is concerned about this glitch. Everybody in town knows about it. Yeah. It's not a secret.
He tells everybody who will listen about
Anybody
it.
who will listen. Yeah. So I don't know why Canning
does
that.
Just the academic press. There's no such thing as academic press.
No, not really. I mean, you could look at the Chronicle of Higher Ed or something.
I guess. Maybe.
Now can I talk about Tom driving the car?
So Tom finds the car on the day of the rally.
Of the Pilgrim's Ride.
Sorry. And Jones and
Gail.
Jones and Gail
are trying to stay close to George while he rides in the Pilgrim's Ride to keep him safe.
So they're going to follow him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Joyce and Cully are in the ride as well. But Barnaby is off figuring things out. And he finds the rally car in the garage. And instead of saying, oh, this is evidence,
he gets in it and drives away.
Like a maniac.
Why? Why doesn't he take his own car?
I don't understand.
Why doesn't he take his car and put the flashing light on the dash?
I don't.
Because it's smaller?
No. And why is he driving through the village like a maniac? Like before he even gets to the route of the race? It's not a race. Sorry, the ride. He drives like a maniac.
Maybe they're hard to handle. Maybe it's like souped up under the hood and it's difficult to drive.
He almost hits 11 bike riders. I counted.
The fact that he turns around and drives back past them like he's going to take another try at him.
So what Canning has done is he's going to set up the Bucketman.
Yes, he's implicating the Bucketman in the way he's going to kill George.
So he's going to trip George up.
With barbed wire.
Pour paint on him.
And then whack him with something.
Whack him with a thing.
Big mallet or club or something. It's hard to tell what it is.
And he's going to do this on the ride because Jeffers is going to take a shortcut that they alluded to in the first 5 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
Which is the least ethical thing that you would think George Jeffers would do.
I don't know why he would do it. I understand why he does it in the first scene because he wants to beat the kids to the ruins and like kind of pull a joke on them. But to do it during the ride that he has been key in organizing to raise money, why would he cheat? Why wouldn't he want to just be with the rest of the riders the whole way?
Yeah, and what's the chance of him being alone enough to cheat like that? And like it's a bad plan.
It's a bad plan. But because he gets attacked on the shortcut, we get to watch Gail fall over on her bike.
And then Barnaby almost run them over.
Because then he drives the car down the shortcut. I just want the rally car to get like stuck on that path and then they have to like tow it out. And
did you notice how Jones does a little jump with his bike to get to...
Oh, he's fancy.
It's certainly fancy.
At least Canning isn't trying to behead George with the barbed wire. Because we've seen that in Midsomer. Yep. Just pull a wire across the road and it'll take down anybody who comes along.
You should put my wife and daughter on the front page.
Tom's cute.
He is. So they interrogate the murderer, Canning.
Ned.
And he explains that he does it because he wants to make sure his son becomes the master.
He was a lowly porter at the university, and his son could be in charge of it. Isn't that wonderful?
It is. But it's never in jeopardy.
I'm going to kill a few people to make sure it happens.
Because it's not happening now.
No. He did the one thing to ensure that he won't get it.
Yeah.
Kill people to ensure that he did.
Well, I don't know if he kills people because if you notice in the reenactment, Emily's eyes are wide open and blinking.
What I don't get is, okay, so I understand why he drives the rally car to run over Emily because he wants to drive something that people won't recognize.
Oh, by the way, that is the loudest car in Midsomer.
That's what I was going to say. But it is so loud. It's like... all around town.
That's going at the front of the episode.
Even in the dark, that car is recognizable.
Oh my God, yes.
It's a little rally car covered with stickers, including one that says 16, and it goes when you drive it. You don't even have to see it to know, oh, it's that car that sounds like a big fart. Who has the car that sounds like a big fart?
Oh, that car's been ruined.
Oh, it was demolished right after the race.
Why?
Or put in the garage with a tarp on it and kept at and running order all this time.
A car is a hard thing to hide.
Like, how did he even get like gas in it without somebody noticing? He must have been filling it like... You know, is this the first time he got it out of the garage to drive it since he put it in the garage?
Let's hope it didn't run out of gas.
It's stuck in the woods with Barnaby behind the wheel. He doesn't even have Troy to blame for it.
He goes, I had no choice. You had hundreds of choices.
You had every choice. You could have just stayed out of your son's business and trusted him to get the job that he deserves if he deserves it. Ned.
And we find out that George was the Bucketman. His son was trying to copy him. And he's so ethical, he comes in and
they confess
to it. He'll take a shortcut, but...
yeah, but he'll confess to being the Bucketman.
And Barnaby does the right thing and basically says...
Well, all the people who he paid on were assholes anyway, so, you know.
Yep.
Even Finn is kind of like, oh, you're not going to press charges? Well, maybe that means that he won't press charges against me for hitting him on the head and knocking him out and breaking into his house.
Breaking into his house. Oh, by the way, on that whole thing that I was upset about, the glitch.
Let's work it out.
Let's just work it out.
If it makes other people murder each
As we
other.
walk out the door, like, there's no reason for anything in this episode.
But we got to see Barnaby drive that car.
He sure enjoyed driving that car.
It's fun. All right, so the best corpse is tough. Nice corpse.
Okay, best corpse has to be Jap, even though Jap doesn't do a great job as a best corpse, because Emily has her eyes open and blinks.
We don't really see Snape, though.
We see him he's on the floor near a puddle. That's
it.
We see his face.
That's it.
It's not a long shot. Nope.
All right, so he's the winner of two not-so-great corpses anyway.
Yes.
All right.
After the credits.
Well, Jeffers and his son, Tom, are going to get along better.
I think their relationship will get better.
Yes. Clinton's not going to go to jail for breaking into his house and hitting him on the head.
I think they'll probably fix the glitch.
I think they will. Ned's going to go to jail. Jonathan won't get the job.
I guess not. The choir master will have to think of other songs to sing that are related to other things.
It is the right choice for the event, though.
It is.
It's kind of self-centered.
And when
because he and his wife are the only tandem bike riders, but
when they're done singing it, he is really congratulatory to them. Did you notice that?
I don't know what choir they used, but it's obvious that they're an existing choir. They're very good. They do a really good job. It's a nice arrangement of that song.
It is. The thing I learned from this episode, the whole thing I learned from this episode, is that the Barnabys have a worse garage than we do.
Oh, here's a fun fact about one of the actors that I hadn't mentioned. I forgot to mention it. So Nigel Whitney, who plays Clinton Finn, he is Canadian.
Yes.
I'm sure you noticed that he was not American.
No.
He's born in
Canadian.
Alberta.
Yep.
He is married and has been for a long time to Abigail Thaw.
I know I've seen him in something else that I know him really well from.
So Abigail Thaw is John Thaw's daughter.
Who is
Miss Frazel in Endeavour. Also set in Oxford.
Yeah.
They've been married for a long time and have kids together.
That's cool. It's surprising that we haven't seen him on Endeavour then.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe.
You know, you don't work with your spouse. Who would do anything with their spouse? God, that's never going to work.
It's crazy, man.
Just no way.
You have to spend time with them and everything.
Are you ready for bad movies?
This movie is terrible. Ha, I bet Mark's seen it.
Oh, am I ready? You got a whole bunch for me this week.
Oh my gosh, do I have bad movies for you?
Okay.
There was a veritable smorgasbord. Man, these are bad too.
Okay.
They're really bad.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen them.
I've probably seen them.
The first one is a 1996 movie, and Nigel Whitney, who plays Clinton Finn, is in it.
Okay.
If I can get through this synopsis, I'm going to be proud of myself. This movie involves a woman hiding out with 4 pastel-colored poodles in a desert gas station. A pink meteorite crashes near the station, transforming the woman into an alien with a gigantic voracious tongue, and her poodles are transformed into 4 drag queens. Her boyfriend escapes from prison and also encounters the meteorite, as does a mute nun who is then converted into a sexy drum majorette. Pursued by prison officials who are after him, the whole group eventually come into conflict.
Is this Crazy Mixed Up Zombies?
No.
Okay. I've seen this movie. Don't remember what it's called.
How could you forget what it's called?
Oh, what is this called?
It's about a woman with 4 pastel poodles who turn into drag queens. It's called Killer Tongue.
Killer Tongue. No, maybe I haven't seen this movie.
I think you'd know. I was waiting for you to stop me at any moment.
Go Killer Tongue.
Because at any moment, any of those elements of the movie have got to be unique to this movie. The pink meteorite, the poodles that turn into drag queens, the mute nun that turns into a majorette. I mean, all those things.
No, I haven't seen that movie. One for you.
Killer Tongue, 1996. 1 point for me.
Yep. I don't know why I didn't see that movie.
All right. The next one is from 1997, and Simon Chandler, who played Jonathan Canning in this episode, is in it.
Okay.
An encounter with extraterrestrials, a night in a haunted castle, and a moment of truth in a maternity ward are just a few of the escapades along the way to a band's first live concert at a big hall.
Oh, shit. I've seen this movie. What is this called? Oh, I've seen this movie.
I don't think you have. It's 1997. Extraterrestrials, haunted castle, and a moment of truth in a maternity ward.
Oh, what is this movie? I don't know.
Spice World.
Oh.
It's the Spice Girls movie.
Yes.
Ha! It's got like 3.2 tomatoes on Rotten Tomatoes out of 10.
Wow.
It's bad. It's really bad.
No, I never saw that movie.
All right, I got two more.
Okay.
Both of these movies have Jonathan Cecil in them, who played Melville Dodgson, who is the master of the college.
Okay.
And played Jap to Peter Ustinov's Poirot, okay? So the first one is a 1972 movie.
Okay.
A coward goes to war in 1914 after he's hypnotized to save England. With the German master plan tattooed on his backside, he goes to the British headquarters with the Germans in hot pursuit.
And this is not BoJess.
No.
And not the last remake of BoJess.
Nope.
72. I don't know.
He has the Germans' plan tattooed on his butt.
I don't know.
It's called Up the Front.
Is that Carry On Up the Front?
Nope. It's just called Up the Front.
Wow.
That's 3 for me.
3 for you.
Oh, this last one is the one that you are most likely to get next to Killer Tongue. I thought you were going to get Killer Tongue right away. Okay. Last one, but certainly not least. 1971.
Okay.
In 1830, 40 years to the day since the last manifestation of their dreaded vampirism, the Karnstein heirs used the blood of an innocent to bring forth the evil that is the beautiful Merkela, or as she was known in 1710, Carmilla. A nearby boarding school is a convenient buffet.
Yes, because there's lusty vampires in it. And this is Lust of the Vampire.
Lust for the Vampire.
Okay.
I will give that to you. Very good.
Hammer horror film.
The only chance I thought I had with this one is that there are so many bad half-naked vampire lady movies in the 70s.
Karnstein is straight out Hammer horror films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, if you only narrow down to just the Hammer horrors that are about female vampires, you still have so many to choose from.
No, but that's the Lust of the Vampire.
Good for you, but I still got 3.
Yep.
Killer Tongue, man. Spice World and Up the Front. Oh, that's all for this week, guys.
Oh, that video, the audio of you making the car noise is
I hope we made you smile at least a little bit. It's not the best episode of Midsomer to make fun with.
It's a crazy week. Hopefully you spent some time with us and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. And we hope you're doing well and stay sane and stay smiling.
You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and email.
Unlike some people. We're on Facebook too. Neener.
Yep. We're also in the Facebook groups for Midsomer Acorn and the subreddit, which has been fantastically active with all sorts of interesting questions. I'm very pleased about it.
There was a great drinking game posted by somebody on the subreddit the other day.
Yes, and YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified of our new videos.
And next week for episode 71...
Season 12, Episode 5, Small Mercies. Model Villages and Academy Award winners.
Yay!
And tridents. And
we need it after
strange gothy daughters.
Boat races. And
Lilliputians. It is the strangest boat race of all time.
It's a funny boat race. Funny raft race.
And a sad story about a puppy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's next week.
Yes.
Bye, Maniacs.
Bye, Maniacs.
You're going to cut that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not even going to make a joke about it.
Nope. Oh, my gosh. I forget what it was last week. I was doing the editing and you kept making a joke about what I had said. And I'm like, okay, that needs to get edited out now.
Because I kept referencing it.
Yep.
If I do that, just tell me.
It's okay. I had no problem.
But if I'm doing it and you're going to have to edit it out, tell me. I'm going to cut that thing so you can stop joking about it.
Okay.
That's all.
This episode filmed...
I'll make a bad sound there so you can see where to cut. That'll make it easier to edit.